Hi, very good morning to you. I read the comments on the last video that I made, and the thing is, I get it, I understand, and I do read all the comments, and I read the few comments that was sent along with a few pound in donations for the channel and the observatory, and I'll say thank you very much for that right now. I do appreciate the help and support, and I also appreciate what you write. And a few people had mentioned a few things for me to just go and have a look at, and of course I did. When I got time, I had a look. And it's Sunday today, isn't it? And not many people these days go to church. Very few people have a Bible in their house, and that could be because it's not their religion, but whatever religion they've got, I believe on general terms, religion is suffering and is declining, just like pretty much everything in this world. And I think that that's very sad, because true religions don't teach people how to be bad. There are good morals. It's like, don't judge people by what you see. Judge them on their actions, and you will know them if they're good people or if they're bad people. You will know that by simply, observation in an unbiased way. So I understand also that this channel is dedicated mainly to the magnetic North Pole, but I am not going to break out the SD card, the Trimax system, every 2 days and give you, pretty much the same information, albeit it does change every 2 days. Because if we break the migration down of the average, what we're getting at the moment is around 5 miles every month. What we'll see is a derivative of that 5 months if we break it down in 2 days. Yeah, we can do it, but it's a bit tedious, and that's why at the moment it's left for once every month. We was doing it every 2 weeks. We was breaking the month down in between the half. We was doing it on the 17th, and like we do now, around about the 1st to the 4th. So if people do want to see two magnetic North Pole positioning and a bit more information relating to that topic, I can do that. All I ask is, in return, could you give us a little bit of support back here at the observatory? And there are other topics of interest, and I know a lot of you love this stuff, like I was shown in the last video. I just want to go over it a bit later on, and I want to show you something new that I didn't show you in that video. But the point is, I completely get it, but I want you to have a little bit of understanding. I'd bore everybody if I'd done the magnetic pole positioning, over frequently, let's say, in the month. There is information on the website, poleshiftnews.com, if you want to go over there and have a look at the Earth at a glance. We record that, and there is other information. There's quite a lot of information on the magnetic North Pole, but you can also see live solar data, volcanic activity. You can type in whatever magnitude of earthquake you want. There's a whole range of anomalies as well, just to keep a broader interest in what's going on with our world. So yes, I do understand, guys, and if you want me to go back to the twice a month doing the latest position, I can do that. I just ask for a little bit of support. Now, I started off the last video saying that I believe that if Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping was to see this video, that I really do believe in the goodness of my thoughts and belief that they would get something out of it that might make them, it might just change a little bit about what is going on in the world and the tension at the moment. Because if we just talk about I'm going to talk a little bit about, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm trying to put it in a logical order so that you get it. Now, all I ask is for a bit of patience and your attention. I believe those two key aspects of learning something. And I'm not a teacher, and I'm not a prophet, and I'm not Jesus Christ, and I'm not nobody like that. But I want to share something with you. So I'm a sharer of things that I've come across in my life. And some of them, I am hoping that you will get, after this video, you will get the same impression that I've got. That there's something else that we cannot control in this world. And it's demonstrated in some of the clips of this video that I'm going to show you, because the patterns are the same on other planets. And, you know, of course, why shouldn't they be? You know, the creator has left his mark throughout the entire universe. He's the creator of it, isn't he, if you believe that? So, you know, starting with this, it is something of a language, and someone in the comment section got it almost right, and I'd like to know how they knew how to decode the alphabet there into English. And that's why I said even Xi Jinping, Putin and Elon Musk could do it. Even you could do it. But what it requires is for you to do a little bit of research. I'm guaranteeing you, with the technology at hand today, you will find something that will decode that for you, and you'll know what that means. And there is 10 of those things listed there, and I believe they came probably, this is my theory, I believe that what these words, when they're decoded, say are coming from the same source of the 10 Commandments. And you've got to say this about the 10 Commandments, the original 10 Commandments, that they, if you look at them and understand what they're describing you to do, and just abide by those 10 things, you're going to come back with the fact that you've just read something very logical, is explaining, you know, in just 10 things. Can you believe that? Let's say there were laws of life and you followed them, then you wouldn't really need all the thousands of laws that human beings have created over the years, because you wouldn't be breaking any of those laws, unless like the ones that we have today, where, you know, I found myself just before Christmas driving in a bus lane, even though there was no buses there. My mind at the time, because I was going to visit someone in hospital, my mind at the time wasn't paying too much attention to the fact it was a bus lane. I just wanted to get there to the hospital to see the person I was visiting. But I got a £115 fine for that. So, you know, those sort of laws I don't think are, you know, relevant to, you know, laws of life. Let's call them bylaws, or silly laws that councils do just to stealth tax us. But these, I believe, are an extension of those 10. And if you understand these 10, and they are in a logical order, so to understand the first one, then is the ability to understand the second one, and then there's the ability to understand the third one. And you know, you will come back with only one thing. It's pure beauty and wisdom. As not as good as the first 10 Commandments, I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that these definitely are, but you know, when you recognise patterns, and when you see something beautiful, and then you see something else beautiful, and you think, you know what, the only other time I saw something as good as that was when I saw the first one, and here is another one, and it's just as beautiful as that. And that's why I said, if Xi Jinping or any of these leaders at the moment saw this, it might just, I don't know, the power of the beauty of it might just make them respect a little bit more about life. I don't think any of them want, you know, to see a nuclear war happen. And I don't think, you know, it's in anyone's best interest to destroy a country's economic system. But we do live in times like that right now. And the negligence of some of the things that it's been overlooked, like, you know, our planet, which, you know, we have been left as stewards to look after the planet and all the species on it. You know, we should do a better job, and it should be it should be something that is definitely on the to-do list of making sure that as a good steward, when we pass it on to the next stewards, you know, it's in a good condition. And I think a lot of you guys out there would agree with me that at the moment it's not in a very good condition, and what we're passing on is something worse, not something better. For instance, you know, the national debts of countries. You know, we are borrowing money now to put on the shoulders of our future generations if we don't do something about that now. You know, the pollutions of our oceans. You know, when we pass away in the short lives that we have, you know, and leave it to the next generation, the inheritors of this earth, what we leave is a polluted sea of plastics. You know, and those things are on agendas, but what overpowers those agendas are things like wars, which should be immediately brought to halt. I hate wars, and I hate what's going on in Gaza, Israel, Lebanon, with Iran, with the United States, you know, with the Houthis, with Ukrainians, Russians. It's terrible. And then on top of that, we have the domestic ugliness as well. And I think that should be improved. You know, I saw a politician, I won't mention his name, because I know at the moment people, you know, whoever you mention, there's always somebody that says, oh, he's a bad person. But what he said is, it was something that Justin Trudeau said, you know, trying to explain it, and it's just lost my attention what I wanted to say, what he mentioned, and I thought, you know, that was a good thing to say at the point in time. Excuse me. So, you know, I wanted to just show you a few images in this, and like I said, you know, we'll get it to an logical order eventually. So I'm going to move on through the clips to this one here. Now, before I drew that 3D cube, and if you look inside, there's an unnumbered flower inside, and it's like the 3D cube, if you look at it, it's like the corner was removed so you could see what was inside. Now, we could use a lot of analogies for this. We could say, well, that's the sun and them and the 9 planets around it. That might not be what it was all about. But what I will say is, in every diamond that you see, like the number 9 is in like a diamond shape, and it's one piece of the cube. Only on the petal that is inside there, that is not intercepted by the red lines of the cube or the outer cube perimeter, it can only be fitted a certain array of numbers. And when you put them in the correct order, like I have here, I believe that's what I've done, you end up with a unique pattern of numbers. Like, for instance, 8 is opposite to 1, and 8 plus 1 is 9, and that's why I wrote them down here. And 7 is opposite to 2. 7 plus 2 equals 9, and then 6 plus 3, again 9, and 5 plus 4 is 9. And then at the top of all these, there is nothing really to add to the 9, because if you did, you wouldn't end up with a number 9. So the 9 add to nothing is the 9. So I don't believe there's any mistake that this pattern, which has been around even before Jesus Christ, it is one of the things that I went to Egypt to have a look at, because one of the first demonstrations of this pattern is called the Flower of Life. And these circles, by the way, you can break them down, and they've all got names as well. So when you look at things like the Metatron cube, and other things, you will find like these numbers keep coming back up. Golden ratio, pi, Fibonacci sequence, all these things all have similarities in the numbers that I'm showing you. And then I'll show you the equation at the end of this, and then, you know, I'll leave it for you to think about. But there's a reason why the cube was drawn on the pattern of the the Flower of Life, and those numbers were put in the way they were. Now, I've done some other numbers here which are going to become more apparent when I start showing you some of the crop circles that have turned up here in the UK. Like 4 times 9 equals 36. And again, the numbers that end up being the answers that can be added back up to 9, like 3 plus 6 is 9. And then you've got 4 times 36 is 144. And 1 plus 4 plus 4 is 9. And then I've just broke it back down the other way around so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's move on to the next image then. So this is a crop circle. So we have, if you omit the Flower of Life, we've got exactly what we was looking at. A 3D cube, and the 1 cube has been removed. And notice the lines that go around the edge. They don't intercept the inside cube, just like the picture that we was looking at before. So the centre cube in the middle has been removed. and we're left with that image. And I think, if I remember, I did count all these lines. I think it was 36, which I thought was by no coincidence. And again, you know, same thing. We've omitted the flower of life pattern, but we're looking at another crop circle. I think this one was in Wiltshire at some time ago. And you've got all the cubes, you know, coincidentally. And guess what we've got in the middle again? A star shape, which is like the flower. But, interestingly, if you count the triangles around the first perimeter, you get 36, and then another 36, and then another 36, and another 36, and that gives you the number. If you add all of them up together in the 4 rings of triangles, you get 144. So I believe that somebody's trying to bring something clear here to us, because there's similarity in all these you know, images that we're looking at. And then is another one, and again, look, the cube on the outside, then you've got the cube on the center, and then the cube in the middle is not intercepted by lines. It's the same. Do you see what I'm getting at now? There's a pattern. Whatever happens in this cube in the center, the lines don't intercept it. So I could have carried on finishing the cube off by drawing the red line through these you know, regions, and we would have had the cube, wouldn't we? So, you know, there's a pattern. But people could argue, oh, well, these are man-made. But then explain this to me. This is Cassini spacecraft, I think in 2006 or 7, took this image. And there is a clearer one here. We've got the outer perimeter like we had in the flower of life. And then we've got the inside. I mean, we've got the 3D cube without the lines being drawn. And we've got something dead centre of that. Now, man has not made this. I'm just bringing this to you. Now, it's interesting as well, before we go on any further, why are we looking at these numbers? Because they're very important in Revelations. And if you get some time, you've got a Bible, pick it up and have a look what I've drew here. Because if you drawed up the lines between the red and the blue dots that go around the outside, we'd end up with that cube again. And then on the inside, we've got another cube with circles in there. And I want you to try and work out why I drew the round circles around them. It was, yes, just to point out the fact that there's a cube inside there. If we draw up all the lines of the circles, we definitely get a cube. But more importantly, when I said I wanted to go to Egypt to have a look at the temple of Osiris, at the back is the ruins, and engraved on the ruins is the flower of life, and it has the triangular pattern around it. So I spent a lot of time, you know, reading the Bible, and I noticed that, you know, there were certain numbers that kept coming up. Like, if you know the Bible, you'll know exactly where I'm coming from. 144 cubits is the measurement of the wall of the descending object from the heavens, called the bride, I think it is. And then it talks about you know, the 144 people that will be sealed during the end times, or just before the end times. They will have a mark put on them, and there will be 12,000 from the tribe of Judah, and then Reuben, and then all them names come from the Bible. It also talks about in the Bible. Oh, I just wanted to say, if these triangles represent, because there's 12 in each segment here, and of course, if we add all those triangles up, we get 144 again. So, you know, in different parts of Revelations, it's talking about the number 144, but it's giving it a different reason. It's like, you know, I think it's the man with the ability, or the reed to measure the wall length of the bride is 144. There's also 144 cubits. There's 144 members of the sealed people. And it also talks about, now there's something else, it talks about 3 gates on the north, 3 gates on the south, 3 gates on the east, and 3 gates on the west. And each gate will have the names of the angels, and I think also the names of the tribes of these tribes that is being talked about that are sealed in the 144. I believe, I'm not 100%, but I'm sure that each one of those is the name of those angels that are guarding them gates in Revelations. So that's why I I added that to it in this picture because I thought that and there's probably lots of other things in Revelations that could relate to this picture, and I haven't found them all. That's just because, you know, I have over the years, probably 35 years, invested a lot of time in all these things that I'm showing you, and I think that, you know, it's well worth, if you've got an interest, well worth having a look into it, because the coincidence of all these things are lining up with the image that we're looking at, you know, become to the point where, hold on, is this coincidence or is this actual synchronicity? I don't know. So I'll leave you to that. I just want to be the person that introduces you to it. So, and then we looked at, you know, this technology, and I said at the end of watching this Boston Dynamics video of this robot, and I'm not sure whether this is an actual robot or it's artificially generated, but I know that Elon Musk's Optimus, I think it's called, his robot, is capable of doing these things, and I've seen the things that come out of DARPA, and I believe that it could be a genuine video. I don't know, but I said this is the problem, and I'm going to tell you why I think it's the problem. If you look at Tesla's factory, and I'm not just picking on him, but if you look at any car manufacturing plant today, you will see there is not as labour intensive with human beings in those factories, but more robots than anything else doing the jobs 40-50 years ago that human beings used to do. And with a robot like this and its capabilities, you know, it's going to remove all those jobs from us. I just want to get back, before I talk a little bit more about this, I want to make a point about why I thought also Vladimir Putin and Zelensky and all the others could benefit from what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. And that is because if we continue in the path, and I think you'll agree with me, supplying Ukraine to fight Russia, Russia with its smaller GDP, would you believe, than England, its gross domestic produce, which it gathers in every year, and then all those taxpayers' monies get paid on all those different things like defence and Medicaid, you know, facilities, whatever. At some point we are going to wear Russia out. Russia can't afford to spend 1/4 of its revenue on resupplying its arsenal of weapons to fight a war where, you know, Ukraine probably have got the similar problems where they can't afford to keep losing people at the rate they have because of the smaller population than Russia. But my point is this: we're going to push Russia to the point, in the end, we're going to push them to the point of using nuclear missiles. And I believe that once we see an engagement using that type of weapon, then, you know, we will see a retaliation from other countries, and it will become a nuclear holocaust. You know, we are very close to it. Let's face it, this is no joke. We are very, very close to it. All we have to do is run out all of the missiles that Russia has, and then it has no other choice but to resort to using those nuclear missiles. And that is exactly what Putin has warned many, many, many times. And if he's not going to give up, and if Europe's not going to give up supporting him and the United States, then at some point he will use his nuclear missiles, because he will have no other choice but to do that. And I do believe he understands that once he does that, you know, it is over for Russia. And it could be over for the rest of the world as well. So do we want to push somebody to that point, or do we want to do what we should be doing now, is sitting down at the negotiating table and coming to some resolution? And I do like Donald Trump for that. I like Donald Trump for a few other things. I don't agree with everything he's doing, like his international policies I don't agree with too much. I don't like the fact that he has taken money away from some of the most poorest countries in the world, but at the same time I do understand that, you know, he has a job to look after the American people, and, you know, someone said in the comment section we should look after our own house first, get that in a good standing, and then we can look after others. I understand America has a debt that it has to pay off, and it's a huge deficit. That 36 trillion is you know, going up all the time. The interest alone on that is $1 trillion. So I understand that, is what I'm saying. And like, I don't understand the tariffs. I don't understand the want to annex other countries like Canada and Greenland. You know, you give away the Panama Canal. Okay, if there are reasons that they're not using it as it was described in the agreement of it passing over to them, then it should be going back to the United States. You know what? I can think logically about all these things. But, let's face it, even Donald Trump said, he believes the reason he's not dead now when that bullet hit his ear on, and that we're talking 1 inch to the right, and he wouldn't be with us today. That bullet would have went straight through his head and not just nicked his ear on. He said God kept him alive, and he believes that. And I believe if Donald Trump really does believe that, there is, God looking out after him, then I hope that, he also understands that, killing people in war, and instead of averting war, going into war, then that's a bad thing. And that wouldn't be in alignment with God, because that is certainly not what the Bible teaches us. It teaches us compassion, understanding, and if you have a look, if you decode those 10 things, you'll understand where I'm coming from. Why I say, maybe it'd be nice just to put a piece of paper down on Donald Trump's desk, and the other world leaders, and just say, have a read of that. Isn't that what we want? I understand Donald Trump wants to bring back jobs for the United States, but the point is with that, there is a massive confliction with what we're looking at right now, this robot, and this is Boston Dynamics. Tesla has their robot, Optimus, I think it is. These robots take jobs off us, and these humanoid robots will take more jobs off us than anything. The capabilities that they've got, they can be charged and run for 23 hours out of 24. So they can work for 23 hours out of 24. What human being could do that? And the other thing is, God created us in his image, and I think he would find this an abomination, what we've done here. Because what are we trying to say here when we create this thing that we're better than God? Think about that. It's really bad. I will show you in the next video, if you're only interested in a little bit more about what we looked at earlier on in this video and discussed with all those numbers and those patterns and the Cassini photograph of Saturn's North Pole. I will discuss that more with you. And if you want to see more pole shift updates, I ask just support us. I am looking after myself more now here on my own than what I was probably a few years ago. So, I'm trying everything in my power. I'm writing little books about Stinky the ginger cat and his love for his gold coins, which will be published hopefully by the end of next month. I'm also, as you know, training to become a class 1 driver, driving articulated lorries. I'm doing what I can for you guys on this platform and running the website, and also sending those messages out via laser into space for people, where they could put a little video or send me a photo, or I'll stick that up out in space. So, we've got a lot going on trying to support ourselves. And I would encourage you guys to do that. I don't think you can just have one job these days. I think you have to have a lot of little things. And if one does bring in like a couple of quid one day and another one brings in a couple of pound, then together it might amount enough for a bit of shopping, and that will be an alleviation of the cost of living. So, and I know a lot of people now that work 2 jobs. The husband of the family goes out in the daytime, comes back home, has his tea, then goes back out for a couple more hours in the evening, and the wife also works. It's the cost of living crisis that has gone global. It's affected everyone. And, I really feel sorry for the countries with larger populations, because they'll be the first that demonstrate the obliteration of their way of life first, before, the smaller generations around the world will be least affected. It's like, if an economy collapses, how does that really affect an indigenous tribe in the rainforest? Doesn't. They'll go about their daily life like normal. They don't rely on energy, computers, cars, shopping bills. They've learned to be inert from all that. So it's a bit like that. So if you start having bigger populations, then they're the ones that are going to be affected more so when those things do find a way into their lives. I hope you really got something out of the video today, guys. And I'll leave the link down there if you want to help support. I did, because I was curious about the levels of funding that we've been receiving since last year now, over a year. I tried the PayPal link myself, and I understand now. You have to have a bit of patience with it, don't you? If you've ever donated to me, you'll know you have to have a bit of patience in order to go through the form, because it wants the details of your credit card, and then your address, and then your date of birth, and oh my god! But once you've set it up once, it's done then. But I found about 10 minutes maximum, because the first few times I did it, wouldn't accept it. I bet you found the same thing as well when you set up your account to make payments via PayPal. But anyhow, there's also a Patreon link if you want to become one of our patrons. And the only other thing to say is, if you go to church today and you've watched this video before you go, maybe you might reflect on some of those things we talked about. And if you don't go to church, or you're not going to pick up the Bible, then for you guys, you might get something out of it. You might think, hold on a minute, Gene's coming across here with something that I've never seen before, but he's right. If those crop circles are man-made, then who done the one on the Saturn's North Pole? Because the patterns are all the same. It's the same as the Ten Commandments. It's a beautiful piece of work. Only could be done by a superior being like God. Someone with logic, understanding, all those things that we see at the beginning of this video, but unfortunately you're going to have to decode them, or find the person that nearly got it right in the comment section of the last video. Having said that, have a wonderful day. As always, bye for now.